Roger Funk is a farmer outside Garden City, Kansas. He raises grains and alfalfa on land that once was shortgrass prairie. Roger's success has come from hard work, good instincts, and plenty of underground water.
Well, I love to irrigate. You know, as a farmer, you like to see things grow so well. And when you first start this irrigation in the spring, you know, it's a fantastic feeling. You know that you're going to raise something where you irrigate. I think maybe it spells success, too. You know, if you irrigate, you get a crop every year. And if you don't irrigate, some years you don't. And I think maybe that's some of it, but it's just a good feeling when that water starts.
That water, the water that makes agriculture so stable in this area, comes from the Ogallala Aquifer. Resting beneath portions of 8 high plains states, the Ogallala Aquifer is North America's largest underground freshwater supply. In some places, the aquifer bubbles to the surface as springs, lakes, or rivers. Elsewhere, one must drill 300 feet to reach it. An aquifer, unlike a surface reservoir, is a kind of waterlogged sponge made of gravel and sand. This sponge holds a quadrillion gallons of water. Getting water to the surface was the problem. Windmills and hand pumps could support only a few head of cattle or keep a farmhouse supplied. Farmers depended on rainfall and were constantly bedeviled by drought. From the 1880s on, southwest Kansas saw most of its farm families starve out and move on just about every 20 years. All that changed when natural gas was developed here in the 50s. Now there was cheap power to pump the water out of the ground. Southwest Kansas became one of the most productive agricultural areas in the country. Cattle feedlots moved in, attracted by local grain production. With irrigation booming, farmers could raise higher value crops and make more money. Crossroads blossomed into towns. Towns matured into small cities. In less than 15 years, cheap, abundant water had dramatically changed both landscape and economy. But just as the party got going, the ice cream began to melt.
When my father-in-law bought this half section here in 1951, we were all so convinced that this water would last forever because everybody said it would. You know, it was just an underground river, and it was into the middle 60s before we actually realized that it's not an underground river, that it's geologic water. It was put here thousands of years ago, and when it's gone, it's going to be gone. We've actually dropped the water table 110, 120 foot in the 40 years that we've been farming here. It's a big drop. It scares you to death. Hey, good morning. What do you think?
It's great.
We're not going to bail, are we?
No, I don't think so. You want to pick up that pipe?
Yeah, Mother's here.
Roger farms with his 40-year-old son, Boyd Funk, who lives nearby with his wife and 2 young sons.
Well, I'll see if Mother will drive for us and we'll pick up that pipe.
Okay.
Okay.
Attitudes about water have been slow to change atop the Ogallala. Farmers are, after all, businessmen.
We understand money, we don't understand conservation very well. But, you know, as long as we can make a nickel at it, we're going to do it. You know, we're not going to do it just to be nice, just for environmental things, you know. But as soon as it won't pay, then we'll quit.
In southwest Kansas, the Ogallala's water is being used up 25 times faster than it's being replenished. Until recently, pumping regulations were unenforced.
Well, this is a water meter. It records the water that you use. It actually records it in gallons per minute, and this well will run about 900 gallons per minute. We're required to put them in now. People are realizing that the water is, you know, a dwindling resource, and lots of wells have gone dry. You know, I mean, probably hundreds of wells have dried up in Finney County, in the northern part of the county. And those people, they know, you know, once you lose your well, once your well's dried up, well, then you say, hey, we ought to have some control.
When the water level drops and if gas price goes up, it just makes water so much more valuable, more expensive to pump. And we're going to either quit pumping and go back to dry land, or else we're going to find crops with more value, you know, maybe vegetable crops or crops that can be raised economically with more expensive water. You know, our answer has been to shut the wells down and to go dry land. And that's a difficult choice.
Dry land farming is much riskier than irrigating, and yields are much lower. So a dry land farmer needs 4 times as much land as an irrigator to make the same income. Though the Funks still irrigate a number of fields, they have been expanding their dry land operations since the late 70s. The decision to invest in land rather than water was a tough one, not the first tough one Roger has faced. A decade earlier, many farmers were swept up by the latest breakthrough in irrigation, the center pivot sprinkler. Making great green pancakes on the landscape, center pivots transform this and many other parts of the plains. Though they use less water than flood irrigation, center pivots, ironically, have hastened the depletion of the Ogallala aquifer. Flood irrigation requires fields to be level so the water can soak into the soil. But center pivot sprinklers can move over hillier ground, so hundreds of thousands of previously unfarmed acres were suddenly put into production. Many more straws were stuck into the same glass, and the water level plummeted.
We know the Ogallala is a depleting resource, without question. And also the natural gas is a depleting resource. I mean, those are the 2 things that have kept agriculture going the way it is now. I'm hoping that agriculture technology will change quick enough that we'll be able to continue with profitable agriculture without the water. That's my hope. And I kind of think maybe we will, because there's tremendous strides going on in agriculture now.
What are the ways that we can enhance and expand the agriculture economy of this region in face of the situation overall with the Ogallala aquifer?
The Kansas Secretary of Agriculture announces a brand new study on the Ogallala and explains its goals.
What else can we look at? Are there other systems? Are there other ways that we can get more out of every drop of water? Here is the key to what is happening in our agriculture is cattle, and it's over the Ogallala, and the growth potential is enormous in this area to feed more livestock.
Basically, this is a cropping system study.
Farmers attending the annual field day at the local Research Extension Center are concerned about their future, eager to learn how to make the most of what's left of the groundwater, but wondering where they go from here.
I'd hope my son Boyd and the grandsons would be able to stay in agriculture. But I even tell Boyd that, you know, I can see that we're going to be irrigating maybe as long as I'm alive, but I wouldn't guarantee that he's going to be irrigating as long as he's alive. In fact, I question that he will still be irrigating before he's through farming. I really question it.
You guys get to coast when we come to the hill.
Is everybody ready to eat? Boy, it all looks so good. Yes, there is.
Worst case scenario, I mean, if without irrigation, you wouldn't have the beef industry here and you wouldn't have the packing plants. I mean, you know, worst case scenario, I guess I'm optimistic enough to think it's not going to be that bad. As the water table drops, agriculture's not going to have the influence that it's had before.
Ready to go?
But we're so dependent on the water at this point that without some new technology, there's going to be some agonizing changes.
Oh, the Lord is good to me, and so I
thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and the rain and the apple seed. The Lord